now we're going to bring up Miss Jillian. What we're going to do is a little Q&A style. Be thinking of a question that you want to ask Miss Jillian Batchelor, but be ready for an absolute fun hour of whoa, go, speed, velocity. She is absolutely a ball of energy, and what she has been able to build throughout her career, she's had to reinvent it like most agents 3, 4, 5 times and has done so. The #1 female agent in the state of Nevada, Miss Jillian Batchelor. Here you go. All right. So this is important for folks who may not know this about you, but start really when you got into real estate, because it was really kind of accidental in the sense that you were a young kid, like, oh, come work for us, you didn't know what the heck it was, and then it kind of started you, and walk through that.
All right, guys, so I'm Jillian Batchelor, and yeah, so basically I was working for a title company, and I was 18.
You were 18, doing nothing.
Yeah, I started in a tanning salon, actually, and the owners of a title company here locally came in. I didn't even know what title and escrow was, because I was 17 technically at that point. Anyways, they asked me, did I want to come work for a title company? I was like, yeah, that's great. I got a job. I was the receptionist for the first 2 weeks. Then they promoted me to put me into an escrow unit. Still had no idea what that was.
Which is typical title, by the way. Did you see her answer the phone? She was really good. Let's promote her.
Yeah, let's promote her, right? I'm like, okay, that's great. So learned it. Worked for a bunch of super influential escrow officers that were amazing. I will tell you, I worked, so that was starting at a company called National Title, and then I ended at First American. I worked for Carrie Cassane, so anybody in this room knows who she is. She's a beast. She taught me amazing work ethic. I will tell you one thing about title and escrow. You think that their hours are 8 to 5. It's really like 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And they work their asses off. I'm sorry, you guys. They work really hard. So anyways, I was in title. I worked in title for 2 years. I was 20 years old. And I was making like $50,000 a year, you guys. I thought I was rich. You have no idea how much money that was to a 20-year-old. I had 401k, stock options, sick time, paid time leave. I thought I hit the echelon, right? My mom was a realtor. My mom, honestly, was never a big producer. I mean, she had 1 year in her 10-year career where she even hit 6 figures. She would make $60,000 a year, and she was like a good realtor, right? Like an average realtor. And so she says to me, come work in real estate with me. She thought it would be great. She thought we'd go to lunch together. She's like, but I have to tell you, the average realtor makes $18,000 a year. And I thought, why would I leave my $50,000 a year secure job to make $18,000 a year? Long story short, I actually had a heart attack. I didn't know I had a heart condition. Wound up having a heart attack at 20 years old, and I was like, maybe I'm just gonna take a chance. Went to real estate school, took a couple months to get my license, and got my license on February 28th. The next 9 months, I worked in real estate, and I made $197,000 in 9 months.
Sold 65 deals?
Sold 65 homes by myself. Didn't have a lead source. My mom that year, just so you guys know, closed 8 homes. So it wasn't like she was giving me business, right? By any means. So I had to, never once was a deal ever given to me. I never was on a lead platform. I never bought leads at the time. And so people were like, how did you do it? Well, I had really good work ethic. I was used to working 12-hour a day. So I got up every day, got ready, went to the office, learned what to do. I'll actually tell you guys a funny story about my first deal.
Hold on, this is important. So she took into real estate and took the mindset she had. She believed work started at 7.
Yeah, so, and I'll tell you this, and I knew you had to get up, get dressed, be professional, you know, do your hair, do your makeup, and go to the office. That's what I thought realtors did, right? And so I was, back then, they didn't used to give you an office key. So you'd be there when the receptionist, so sometimes I'd get there before the receptionist was there, and I would sit in my car and have coffee, waiting for the receptionist to open the door. And it's actually funny, I worked for Century 21 Money World here in Las Vegas. I was the first agent they gave a key and alarm code to, because the receptionist was sick of coming back to close up at the end of every night. Because she was like, it's 8 o'clock, it's 9 o'clock, it's 10 o'clock, you're still in the office. Like, we don't want to keep coming back to lock up the building. We're going to give you a key and alarm code. And they made me actually like put up like a credit card for the key and the alarm code. It was the craziest thing. Now you always get access to
So 7 a.m. there, you would, from 8 to 9:30, you would just prep your day.
Yeah, so I would prep my day, I would do 8 to 9:30. You guys, this is before MLS was even like fully online. We used to write contracts, if you guys remember carbon copies. Who remembers carbon copies? White, pink. Faxing offers was like an upgrade, right? So back then, how we would do it is, you know what they had us start calling with? They told everybody the first day of real estate school, bring a phone book. We called out of the phone book and a highlighter. We would highlight numbers and call through the phone book. They're like, when you're done with the whole phone book, call it again. That's where our lead sources came from, right? So I was like, okay, I didn't know any better. And then they said, how else do you get leads? Magazine ads. We would also take the newspaper and call for sale by owners on the newspaper. That's how we found our leads. That's what our lead sources were.
So you thought because you loved, you know, pretty things, you're like, oh, these homes are worth more money. So you would buy the high-end magazines. She would highlight the realtors, and then you would do what?
So then here's what I did. So then I found realtors that were making money and I perceived them as being very successful. And initially I'd go to them and I'd be like, can I shadow you? And they'd be like, no, who are you? Like your little twit, like go away. But a couple of them were nice. And a couple of them would let me go do their open houses. A couple of them would let me door knock the neighborhoods because I didn't have listings.
Hold on, they let you do the open houses. So she'd get an open house and then she would be like, well, I gotta try to make sure people are there. So then she would.
So let me tell you what I used to do too, on top of that. And I love this when realtors complain about the open house signs. I want to punch them, and I mean that nicely. Because back then I weighed 90 pounds soaking wet, okay, you guys, wearing heels. They were the metal clunky signs. And my broker used to say, you have to do eight open house signs. And I said, 8? I want to do 20. I want as many people through the open house as possible. So he'd be like, those signs weigh more than you do. Like 20 signs, I put them in my trunk. There was no open house setting up sign companies out there. None of that bullshit existed. Like you did it yourself. In your 6-inch heels, in 120-degree heat in Las Vegas, carrying the clunky signs, putting them outside, getting a brick to put it outside on the signs, running through traffic in your 6-inch heels. You might have no idea what we're doing. I love you guys. Well, let me tell you, still wearing this. Well, today probably 4-inch heels, but
hey, guys might be in heels too.
And then you're right. No judgment, you guys. So basically, the key to that story is it was like whatever somebody told me to do, I was like, I'm gonna take the next step. They said 8 open house signs, I did 20. They said door knock 20 houses, I would door knock 100. They said send postcards, I would print the postcards, and I would sit there at night watching TV and I would like put the labels on them one by one. There was no companies that did that for you. And I'd go to these realtors and I would just, let me tell you this story, you don't even know this one. There was a big realtor and I loved him to death, Frank Napoli Sr., he's now passed on, great guy. But initially I wanted to go and like learn from him and he was like, I'm so busy, they had a really successful team. So he said, you know what he said you could do? He goes, you could sit outside of my office though and listen to my calls. And I was like, okay. Like imagine you're telling a realtor right now, I'm not gonna help you, but you can sit outside my office and listen to me. You couldn't hear what the other person was saying on the other line, I just couldn't hear him. I wasn't on his team, he was let me go into the office and I was just so grateful for the opportunity to let me listen to his calls. Like every opportunity I was like, that's amazing. Somebody's gonna let me do it now. So let me tell you my first transaction, one year I got this. So we did floor time back then, if any of you guys remember what floor time was. And so they get a lead in the office, and the person wants to buy a $50,000 condo. Now today, that'd be like maybe a $150,000 condo. You guys, $50,000 condos back then were in the hood. I'm gonna tell you straight up, right? And I'm like, I'll take the lead. Everyone's like putting their nose up to it, like, I'm not gonna do $50,000, right? And maybe commission was like 2.5%, so you guys, we're not even talking $750, okay? We're talking like low money. But I'm like, I wanna do it in my first deal. So I give it, and they're like looking at like MLK Street, like straight hood area in Las Vegas, like a very rough area. I'm like, I'll go, right? So I go and show it to this buyer, and the buyer's like, this is a terrible neighborhood. And I'm like, it's wonderful. Like, I'm just trying to sell it, right? So they're like, okay, I don't want to buy that $50,000 condo. It's crap, whatever. The buyer leaves, I walk outside, and there are 6 very good sized men sitting on my car, right? And again, I'm 90 pounds soaking wet, 20 years old. So during the day, and this guy, and they all have guns in their waistbands. And I'm thinking, for sure I'm getting carjacked, you guys. I'm like, well, maybe I can run, because I know what to do, right? And so they're drinking 40s, they're sitting in my car, right? And I'm like slowly approaching my car, and the guy's like, girl, give me your keys. And I was like, I'm for sure getting carjacked, but I didn't even sell this condo, I was so mad, right? Luckily, with the grace of God, this went on, we bantered for about 5 minutes, and a cop pulls up. And a cop pulls up, and the cop doesn't get out of his car. He rolls in his window, and if you guys know anything about Metropolitan Police Department, they have shotguns in the back of the car. And the cop pulls down the shotgun, cocks it, he's still in his vehicle. And he points at these guys and he goes, let her in her vehicle right now. Now there's 6 of them and 1 of him, so they probably could have taken the cop out, right, if they wanted to, right? And the cop goes, get in your car, and he goes, follow me out of this neighborhood. I get out of the neighborhood, and he goes, I don't know what the hell you were doing there, never go back again. He's like, I wasn't gonna get out of my car for you. He's like, there were 6 of them and 1 of me. He was like, but I had my shotgun. And like, I was like, oh shit, I'm in a dangerous area. And I was like, do I really want to sell real estate? I need the buyer. Like, I didn't get the buyer. I almost got carjacked. Like, I'm not going to be able to go back there. Anyway, but let me tell you what did happen out of that. The buyer loved the fact that he was pushed off by multiple people. He said, well, I'm not going to buy anything because there's nothing good for $50,000. He goes, but I have a $100,000 condo you can sell. I'm like, okay, first listing, super excited. I list it. I get the buyer. I represent now both sides. So now I'm going to get 3% of 100,000, 3% of 100,000. Maybe 6%, my deal. So excited. That, never talked to the seller again, sold the property, whatever. That buyer, though, then spent $10 million with me over the next 5 years. So off of a $50,000 lead that nobody in the office wanted, that was in the hood, that I almost lost my life and car over, but I got a bunch of deals off of it.
I would say this about her, and this is where she is today. If you got anything out of that, mindset is the first thing and the only thing that matters, right? I love young people getting into real estate today because they think it's hard. And you're like, it's hard if you think it's going to come in here and you're just going to work 4 or 5 hours a day and do real estate, then you're going to have a hard time. But your mindset needs to be, it is a business. It's exactly what it is, and every lead's an opportunity. And we forget this. Leads are still human beings. They're just people. I'll get this question. Jocelyn knows I hate this question. I lose my mind, depending on how many cocktails I've had. Hey, still want the good leads. And I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. I've got all the good leads hoarded myself for my favorite. There is no such thing as a good or bad lead. They're just leads, and they're really just people inquiring. I can tell you that I have a human inquire 4 or 5 levels deep. Name, phone number, email, request a chance to talk to them, and then sending that to a realtor. That's as good a lead as I can give you. We do 100,000 of those a month. What I can say is the action, conversation, issue on the other end. I always say, you know what's funny? My really bad leads are really good in the hands of really great agents.
Yes.
That's the reality.
And I'll tell you one thing, because we have a lot of new agents that come up to us, and the new thing is like, I want to be in luxury. I want to be in luxury. I'm like, you sold a home? Well, no, not yet. Of course, so someone's going to trust you for $20 million. I mean, why wouldn't they? It makes perfect sense. 100% will do. But, and I don't say that to be, but I tell people, you got to kind of like earn your keep. And so I tell these agents all the time, let me tell you, in my opinion, Steve, and you guys, obviously I'm preaching to the choir, you guys may totally disagree with me, but we're in Vegas, right? So the median home price in Vegas is right around $450. Now, we have homes that are $50 million. They don't transact every single day. But in my opinion, I've been in the business 20 years. I've sold over 3,500 homes. And how you build a sustainable business, because my business partner, Daryl Hanna, will tell you, he always calls me an order taker. He's like, you just sit at your desk and people call you, will you sell my home, will you buy my home? And I'll tell you how. Because I did sow my oats in the beginning, and I did plant the seeds. And I'll tell you why that is. I always tell my clients and my agents, everybody wants a $10 million buyer. That's one transaction. You're gonna make $300,000. It's assuming a 3% commission. But what if I gave you 10 $1 million buyers? In my opinion, let me tell you why 10 $1 million buyers are better. Yes, you're gonna have to work 10 transactions. But now I have 10 people singing my praises, and I don't know who those 10 people know. Or if I have one $1 million buyer, there's a 50% chance I'm gonna piss that guy off. But then hopefully he's gonna love me, right? Well, I mean, I'm not gonna piss him off, but maybe Daryl will. but at the end of the day,
Well said and deserved, yeah.
he's one person who's gonna sing my praises. Now I have 10 people out there singing my praises. The reason why I can sit back and just take orders and I don't take leads from my team is because I have 3,500 clients. So 3,500 clients are singing, maybe not all of them, but even if 10% were singing my praises, and then those 10% referred me to people, that's how you build a sustainable business. The other model,
You built a data bank of people wanting to talk to you. And again, what she said was perfect. 3,500, what else more than that? Count your new homes.
Yeah, so
count your flips.
Yeah, so we were doing that. We were looking at the numbers. It's actually closer to about 5,000 all in all with flips and everything. And you know, so it's about, do you want to build a sustainable business or do you want to make a lot of money? Because you can do both, but they're not mutually exclusive either, right?
Well, the other thing is, what I loved about you is, let's talk about this. You did $110,000 home, 65 to make your $190,000.
Yeah.
Then you kind of wrote it up into the 6, 4, 5, 6. Everybody's riding up, prices going up.
Yeah.
Then we have 08.
Then the market crashes. Then I start selling
Now,
homes.
first of all, you were like heading to luxury. You were this person that was kind of considered, you had this network of people, wealthy, investor, and now all of a sudden the whole world crashes.
Yeah.
And now her clients are like, you got it, I'm out. I have no money, I'm out, I'm bankrupt, I'm this. So now this princess, supposedly, has to go do what?
Short sales. So you guys, let me tell you what happened. I never even heard the word short sale because remember, I was 18 in 2000. I graduated high school in the year 2000. I never heard of the word short sale. Didn't know what it was. I'm selling a home for a client in Summerlin. It's $650,000. It appraises $4,500 below the value. My client's like, I don't have the money. We're $4,500 short. I'm like, well, what happens to the $4,500? Like, I didn't know what a short sale was, right? I'm like, well, who pays that? Buyer didn't want to pay it. Seller didn't want to pay it. So I Google it, right? I'm like, what do you do when the bank is losing money? How does the bank lose money? What do you do? Started talking to the short sale department. Long story short, that was my first short sale. Bank lost $4,500. In the same calendar year, I did a short sale where the bank lost $4.5 million on one house. That's how fast our market was adjusting and tanking. In 24 months, I had completed 450 short sales. from not even knowing what the word short sale was.
No, there was no short sale university. There was no short sale. No one was running classes till 3 years later when it really wasn't a thing anymore.
Yeah.
She just did what the smartest realtors in our network do. They adapt and apply.
Yep.
You don't have to know how to do it. No one gives a shit. I go, she call the bank. I did 10,000 short sales when I was at Fidelity. We had an escalation program with every major lender in the United States. And I would have a rule. If you're outside your own lending guidelines, may I escalate this to your head of short sale loss mint? That was my call to action. And I got people to say, yeah, you can. Now they thought I was kidding, and I was not. We sent almost 1,000 requests, literally every 3 weeks, where you are outside of your own. You were supposed to respond in 8 days. This is the 9th day. You haven't responded. Boom. So my agents knew, like Jillian did, hey, Steve, I know when the bank's outside of it, hey, tell me, because you know what she figured out? Tell her no now, not in 9 months when you get killed with spoons, right? So you just basically said, this is the market, 71% distressed here in Vegas, I'm doing short sales.
Well, let me tell you 2 stories about that too. Number one, so a huge life lesson. This is still a good friend of mine today who's a realtor today who has recovered. I'm not going to say his name, but I'll tell you what happened. This guy was doing REOs, he was doing commercial, he was doing all kinds of stuff. The year before that, made $3 million. Market adjusted. He came to me. He said, I need shorts on my house. He had a red Ferrari. He said, the Ferrari is being picked up today because it was being repoed. He was like, I'm losing everything. I want to rent something in a high rise. This was a guy who made millions here before. Still a realtor today, still a good sized realtor today.
What REO was, he was taking care of an asset manager.
Yeah.
All of a sudden the asset manager gets what?
They
fired, gone, there's no more
and
assets.
they didn't want to foreclose anymore. The banks were like, oh shoot, we shouldn't foreclose on all these properties, we should try to short sell them. So the banks transitioned. What happened was he didn't transition. He was a huge REO agent, huge, one of the biggest in the city, and was making money hand over fist, didn't nurture any other relationships. As soon as that bank said no more foreclosures, that guy dried up, and he was like, I can't make the money. I met him in the parking lot, at the same parking lot where they were picking up his Ferrari, and he cried in the parking lot. And he said, there's nobody else I can trust, and he just short sell my house. And that was honestly, I'm kind of getting emotional, because this was a friend of mine. That was a gut-wrenching moment. He was like, because I had a friend who actually committed suicide from the financial markets were, crashing, and they didn't know what to do. And people were losing everything, right? It was a really hard time, I will say. But my short sale clients became the most loyal clients ever, because when you're sitting across the table with somebody, their kids are crying, they're crying, they don't want to lose their home, and they're getting out of it. I mean, and you're the only beacon of light. Those are the most loyal clients ever. So that was a big eye-opener to me. It was like, oh my God. Like
You really became the local economist of choice, because for them it was an economic decision.
Yeah.
And people chose her to go, help me through this economic decision. By the way, are economics confusing now?
Yeah.
If I'm you and I'm looking at Brianna Starkus or some lenders that are here, I will tell you this, go grab your lender or a lender and do a 15-minute interview and put it on YouTube, put it on your social. People are confused. They don't understand. By the way, is it a good time to buy a house now?
It's a great time.
Absolutely a great time to buy a house. Absolutely, especially if you have a life event or opportunity, yes. But if you stay in a house in Las Vegas or Phoenix or LA or wherever you operate for the next 7 to 10 years, any chance you don't make equity in that property?
No.
No, there's not a chance.
So I gotta tell you, another way that really, for me, it was about thinking outside the box. So short sales were a pain in the ass, you guys. They were terrible. And then we had banks foreclosing with last minute, you're trying to get approvals, it was crazy. So 2008, this is important, right? 2008, my son was born in August. In Vegas, you know how hard it is. I was still showing homes to 120-degree heat, none of the properties had utilities on. I go to the owner of my company at the time, Realty One Group, Cuba, and I go, are you okay with some guerrilla marketing tactics? He was like, well, what do you want to do? I go, as long as I don't get arrested or bad press, are you okay if I make a splash? And he goes, well, what do you want to do? And he goes, in fact, I don't even want to know, come for forgiveness later. So I had a bank, Wells Fargo. The president of the bank at the time was Angelo Mazzillo. And remember this, I'll tell you guys why. This made national news, you might be able to Google it today. This was in June of 2008. The bank did not want to short sell my client's house. I was 7 months pregnant. I said, okay. I called the news channel out. I handcuffed myself in 120-degree heat, 7 months pregnant, to the railing of the front door, right from the front door of this house. And I said, I'm going to stay handcuffed to this property, a woman that's 7 months pregnant, 120-degree heat, until the bank agrees to short sell this house. We were on the news. It lasted about 4 hours till Angelo Mazzillo, the president of Wells Fargo Bank, was calling my cell phone and saying, I need you to unlock yourself in that house right now. You're giving us the worst press possible. We'll do whatever it takes. I will get it approved today. The file's sitting on my desk. What do we need to do? And my owner said to me, Jillian, I'm not sure if I should fire you or if I love you. He was like, because if you would have went into labor, we would have had our heads up to hot water. And I go, I asked your friend. like using guerrilla marketing tactics. And the news came out, and it literally, I was interviewed on CNBC. They put me on. I was in like they were asking me to fly me out to New York, but I was pregnant. And I was trying to get flown out to New York. They were like, they want to interview you, but then I became known as the realtor who would do anything it took to short sell your house. Like I would risk my life and life of my baby to short sell your house. I wasn't really trying. But I was known for doing those things because I was like, I gotta think outside the box. And I was like, and I was beating my head. I mean, it was taking this short was like a year. I was like, come on, these are good offers. And they kept just losing money. The market was going down. I was like, you guys are idiots. So I needed something to make a splash. And it was headline news. It was everywhere, right? And so that kind of made my name in the short sale business. It was like, okay, I was tenacious. I was a beast when it came to short sales. That I was going to do what it takes.
So you did that. You did that everywhere, though, didn't you? You did that in short sales. You did it in regular business. Let's get into this a little bit. I think this is really important. Married, 3 kids, building teams, tenacious, doing you. As a woman, like, did you ever get the like? Hey, you know what? The kids can't do all of this. You gotta kind of pick and choose. Or walk us through how. Give us 3 tactics. If I'm here and I'm a female killer, I'm trying to get bigger. But what were you had to do that really helped you become who you've now become?
Well, everything is mindset, right? So you have to break that glass ceiling. I hate the glass ceiling. It doesn't exist. It's in our minds. We all put it in our own minds. So number 1, it's proximity. You guys, get around the people that are doing better, that know what they're doing, that have already failed forward, that are willing to give you tactics and tricks and tips to make you better. That's why we're on this room today, right? Is how are we going to become better? So I don't care if you're a man or if you're a woman, whatever. Get around those people that are already doing it. So that was first for the mindset. Number 2, don't ever let anybody tell you no. When they would tell me no, when my mom said the average realtor makes $18,000 a year, I was like, F that. When they would tell me the base that I'm not going to short sell this house, I was like, the hell you are. Don't ever let anybody tell you no. So when they were telling me like, it's kind of it's a unique circle that I have a partial owner of a title company now through our partnership through CBD because I started in title, right? So that was kind of full circle for me. But when people are telling you no, women, I own part of a construction company now. I own part of my real estate team with my partner, mortgage company. So when people tell you you can't do all this and be a mother, all 3 of my kids are raised in real estate. And be a mother, and be semi-fit, and take care of yourself, and all these things. You can have it all. Yes, there's leverage. And you know what? I'm no better than anybody else. I just understand leverage. I put people in place, and I deploy them when I need them to help where I need to. So it's going to be your mindset. It's going to be.
You heard your voice the loudest, always.
Always. And you know what? The other thing is that it's taking the opportunity when opportunity presents itself. And there have been times I haven't always been bold and taken every opportunity, but now I'm learning just screw it. If the opportunity comes up and it feels good in the moment, I'm going to take it. And if it doesn't work, oh well, at least I gained experience. But taking the opportunity, because we're so afraid, we talk ourselves out of everything. Oh, I can't do this. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I'm not skinny enough. Whatever. You talk yourself out of it. You have to just take the opportunity. You got to take the chance, because it can get so much better, and you're going to get experience from it. And hey, we're not in short sales anymore, but at least now I know what it takes to be successful in that, right? So now the next step is to learn what it takes to be successful in it.
So now you're creating your national network. You're
Yes.
building out. You figured out what works in Vegas. Actually, and I will say this: who's in Vegas here doing business? Okay, gangster. All right, this is I teach it all the time. Phoenix and Vegas are where gangsters do business. So when Boy Scouts from Seattle go, hey, I'm thinking about expanding into Vegas, I'm like, no, Boy Scouts don't go to Vegas. That's where gangsters live. You get shot, killed. Same in Phoenix. LA, same thing. Gangsters in LA. It's like I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna go to, I'm gonna sell some homes like I did in, Naples. I'm like, not where you should go. Okay? But you guys expanding out, you guys teaching out, you guys influencing out, it's a huge thing. Because when you go from here to Seattle, you go from here to San Diego, respectfully. I remember Dan Beer and Kyle Wilson, 2 of my best partners. I brought them to a Mastermind in Arizona, made them listen to Brett Tanner, who was doing 650 deals. And they're doing 38 deals in San Diego. Like, yeah, I do 44 million development. I go, well, no shit, your average price is 1.3. What do you know? That's what we're talking about. Now they both do north of 650 deals in San Diego. You can take the same hustle and you can create it. You've done Santa Clarita. So you take this, you have the ability, Jillian, to go influence out with that mindset, especially as a female, because I think sometimes I'm tired of seeing the same 45-year-old, handsome, well-cut, little bit shaved boy on stages talking about, here's what we do, and here's my perfect life, and here's my perfect wife, and my 3 kids. I want to see our ladies up there who are like, oh, hell yeah, I chained myself to a house, get that something sold, and I was 7 months pregnant, and I said, if you don't do that bank, I'm going to put this on. So that's kind of fun, and you know what's funny? it's a unique challenge because I know you now enough that we've now got to do stuff together. We're growing together. You only heard your voice.
Yeah.
When everybody else is like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't just go out and start knocking on doors for open houses. That's going to make people mad.
Yeah. Or if people tell me you can't do it, you're a female, you're 90 pounds, you're going to get raped and killed. I never got raped and killed, guys. So here. I mean, yeah, use your brain, obviously. But like, people tell you can't do it. And at the end of the day, I was like, I want to teach my daughters. Like, I want to teach them. Like, and no disrespect to anybody, but there's more than just being a housewife. Like, I just don't want to be at home knitting blankets and baking cookies, right? I'll eat all the cookies. I need to be out doing something, right, you guys? So, no disrespect.
She's Italian if you can't tell already.
Oh, yes. You guys want to hear a quick joke? How do you shut an Italian up? Cut off their hands. Yeah, but you know, it's like everything that somebody told me that.
You just got that now? That was a little late over here.
You got it.
And back to the topic.
I just feel like, you know what, we're all equal, right? And again, I love men. You guys, God, do I love men. I love men. So nothing against men at all, you guys. My super handsome boyfriend's in the room, God, I love men. But, so, nothing against men, but I was like, if he can do it, why can't I do it? If anybody can do it, why can't I do it? And that's just the attitude you have to have with everything, right? Even if you're a man, if you're Johnny and you're looking at Steve and you're like, God, Steve is so handsome. Johnny, you're like, I can do it. I can do it. Right? Take on Johnny.
Probably not as tall.
Not as tall.
Not a girl, Carly.
But like, you just don't take no for an answer. I know we all know that. I know we all know that with mindset. But it's like, I remember looking at people and thinking, God, if I could just do 50 deals a year, if I could just do 100 deals a year. I remember the only coaching I ever did, we have this thing called the top 250 list in Las Vegas. I don't know if you guys have it other places, but it goes over the top 250 realtors every quarter based on production in your city. And I remember when I first got started, I was like, I'm going to be on that list. So there's 17,000 realtors, so it was kind of a big list to make. And then I was on the list and I was in the 200s. And I was like, I'm going to just be in the top 100. Then I got in the top 100, I was like, I'm going to be in the top 75. Then my only coach at that time said, why 75? Pick for the top 25. Then I got into the top 10. And then I was like, I'm gonna be the #1 female. Like, cause there's a lot, cause 71% of our business is female, but the top 10% is almost always male. Always, right? So I'm like, I wanna be that. Why? Why not me? I got a big personality, love me or hate me, I'm coming through the door like a bull, you guys. So hopefully you receive me well. But yeah, if not me, then who?
I just want to say how much I've loved getting to know, because when I first meet Jillian, you're like, oh shit, she's a lot. You know, I got a lot in my life already, and I'm like, I don't know if this is a good fit, you know. And Jocelyn's like, oh no, you're going to want to get to know her. And there were events that I would have in places like this that Jillian might not have been on the invite list. And her little ass would just show up, hi, oh my God, we're here. This is so great. This is awesome. And I'm going, oh, that's great. It's got to be Jocelyn. Did you invite her? She's like, nope, didn't invite her. And then she'd get in the room, and she would listen, and she would take notes, and she would go, hi, who's that? That's Jim. Is that, he did the open house thing? Can I go see him? Okay, great. Boom, Jim. Boom. 2 months later, Jim's like, oh my God, I love your girl, Jillian. I'm like, my girl, Jillian? Yeah, okay. Oh my God, we talk. I'm giving her my open house stuff. She's teaching me about that. We had a thing go. She took advantage of every room you're in. And in the beginning, would get into rooms, with all due respect, that necessarily she might not have been invited to, but she knows that room can make me more money.
I gotta kick the door down. I'm not invited, you guys. Gotta write my name in the guest list.
Here's what I love the most about that. Now, you're speaking.
Well, I gotta tell you why. No one's gonna hand you anything.
No.
Like, I'm gonna be honest, you guys. I was raised super humble means, single mom. Most money she ever made until she was in real estate was $10 an hour. We didn't have a health insurance until I was 12. Shopping in discount stores or secondhand stores was totally the norm. If we got to go to Ross, it was like a big deal. McDonald's was a big deal. Nobody was ever going to give me anything. I wasn't going to inherit any money. I didn't marry rich. I married for love. God, that's what we'll do now. Yeah, so I was like, no one's ever going to give me anything. So if I want it, I got to earn it. I got to earn it for myself. I'm not the prettiest. I'm not a Victoria's Secret model. I'm not the smartest. I'm not the richest. I just got to make it. No one's going to give it to me. I just got to go for it. That's it.
And now you're the #1 female realtor in the state of Nevada. I'll tell you this too. I tell her this all the time. I think she's in the 3rd inning of who she's going to be.
Oh, yeah.
I think, so where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, in 5 years. So hopefully successfully married. And hopefully, you know what? I want to sell I want to build our title business so big that we sell it off and then we're building it again. I want to build our mortgage company up, sell that out. I want Daryl, Hannah, and I to be selling 1,000 homes a year with our team. I want us to be coaching, mentoring. I don't want it all. And you know what, most importantly, I want happy kids. Hopefully they still like me.
How could they not like everybody? Miss Jillian Batchelor.